The guys talk about Kanye, the draft, and buying sincerity online. Liff is fed up with programmers, and Kevin has some problems that only his cohorts can help him handle. All that and more this week on Just Press Play.
How many losing seasons does Tom Brady have to have before you can fire him? Well, he's got to have one. He's about to win the MVP. That's not an unnecessary roughness. It was a completely necessary roughness. I mean, he's a good player. The man rushed for 170 yards is what he got credit for, but he walked and ran a total of like 300 yards. As soon as it came out of my face, I knew how dumb that was.
All righty, here we are. It's another week, and the gang's back together. We are joined up. We got Pops and LJ here. And it's a big weekend. We had the NFL draft happen. Playoffs are still full tilt boogie. I mean, it's a lot of stuff going on. And I actually got to see Dad in person. He was traveling through and stopped through Fort Smith. We had some breakfast this morning.
Because I was not at the draft.
Right, because he wasn't able to make it to the draft.
And by the way, neither were any of my buddies, so it wasn't like they went without me. It just, we didn't get, apparently okay, here was the deal. You could get tickets for $700. You could get a 3-day pass. So we could have gotten tickets for $700 and decided, I didn't get to decide, but I would have decided no.
Yeah. So I had a coworker of mine was off, and they went to the draft, and he said that they didn't actually go inside. He kind of thought that he was told they might have tickets. He didn't know. And when he got there, they just went to the outside of the. If you've been to Cowboy Stadium, they were out the outside of it where there's big TVs and stuff, and hung around for a little bit for the first round and then left. Said it was cool, but he said the place was packed, and I saw it on TV. The place, Jerry Jones just knows how to put on a show, and that I don't know why you would pay all that money. Some of the seats were there's the little stage, and then they had it wrapped around with fans all over the place. Yeah. I'm like, you can't even see anything. You're just there to be there.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess it's kind of cool, but I would at least want to be able to kind of see it. Yeah. I don't know. It's almost too big of a venue, I feel like, for the draft.
I heard there were 110,000 people there, but I think that was inside and outside or something.
Probably.
But that's a lot. Hey, the NFL, this just in. They're okay, I think. I think their health check is pretty decent. Yet. They're not dead yet. So
they are still kicking. Well, all right. So with all the stuff going on, Dad, do you have let's start with the best and worst of the week. So you got a best?
I kind of struggled with getting a best and the worst. I don't have a worst. Sorry, I should have said that later.
Sounds like a pretty good week. Yeah. I think,
Well, and I have to say my best was probably Fayetteville, Arkansas in the springtime, and went up there. Jed, my stepson, has a house that's pretty close to campus, and there was a couple of baseball games going on, and all the cute girls in their short shorts, and it's just a wonderful time to be in Fayetteville in the spring. I just love it.
This was as good. So up around Northwest Arkansas, it's been every weekend's either been rainy or windy. We actually had snow at the beginning of April, which is crazy. And we just haven't had a good weekend in forever. And just this past weekend, the weekend Liff's making his trip up to Fayetteville, it was beautiful. That could have easily been a best. It was. I'm glad you did mention it. It was like 75 degrees, sunny, winds kind of blowing.
Great.
I mean, you just don't get much better.
Well, and to validate what you're saying about the weather up there, just to go 200 miles north of where I live in Texarkana, the trees the hardwood trees are not budding out. We have green. I mean, it's green here completely. Yeah. But the hardwoods are barely starting to bud up there, and I think that's because of the cold and rainy weather y'all have had. So.
And look, Liff's going to give us some Planet Earth stuff right here. It's Nat Geo right here with the Just for Play pod.
Nat Geo with Pops.
Mr. Nat Geo himself.
All right, El, what do you got anything for your best of the week?
Well, yeah, we opened that show that I've been talking about, the Les Mis with the high schoolers, and I don't care about that play in any way, shape, or form, but it was really spectacular. Especially the kids on my team were just phenomenal. And I've learned, and it's kind of a good time, I think, for me to learn it because society is learning it too, is like the limit that these kids have is the adults around them. Like if you just let them go, they are phenomenal. Like, teenagers are special people that are just new in the world, but like not afraid of anything. It's awesome. So
yeah, that's what. We'll get to this in a little bit, but old Kanye West was mentioning that kids are they're awesome. All right, my best of the week is going to be related to the NFL draft a little bit, and I'm a little torn. I'll ask y'all's opinion on it, but the 28th pick in the first round is my best of the week, and that was when Roger Goodell announced that Ryan Shazier from the Pittsburgh Steelers was going to announce the pick for the Steelers, and all of a sudden you see him. He's still walking gingerly a little, but to see him walk from the back to the stage, to the podium after that horrific injury was incredible. I mean, I was blown. I was just sitting there watching. I'm kind of doing some things, and the draft's on. I'm not like really hard watching it, but when I see a pick announced, I look to see who it is, and then all of a sudden they mentioned that, and I stopped and was watching it, and I didn't get teary eyed, but like some hair stood up a little bit, just because to know what he's probably gone through, and to see him, the walk was not painless. I mean, you could tell it was a struggle a little bit, but to see him get to do that was really cool. Also, with that, another reason why that was my best is because that pick was for Terrell Edmonds, who is a safety at Virginia Tech. His brother, Tremaine Evans, was drafted like 12 picks before for the Bills. So two brothers went in the first round for the first time in NFL history.
Cool. That's too cool.
And their dad was also a third-round pick and played for 8 years. So, man, the genes in that family.
They don't need no CRISPR.
But so a guy brought up to me. I tweeted out the video. I thought it was really. I think I retweeted it and just thought it was really cool. And someone replied to me, a random person, and he brought up how ironic that on the day all these young guys are going to get drafted to the NFL is going to show them what this game can do to you. And at first I thought, oh, you're blah blah blah. I kind of fought it, but then the more I've thought about it, that was a little like. What are y'all's thoughts? What are y'all's thoughts on that?
Well, it touched me. I actually, when you first said that, I hadn't thought about what I thought about when I saw Ryan Shazier, but it was disheartening seeing him having so much trouble walking. I remember seeing the hit that he took, and it looked like a
mundane play, just
a regular play. And then it occurred to me that it took a set to march him out there, because you're right. What looked like a benign hit can do this to you.
Yeah.
So it was a chancy thing. There was a lot of feelings in it to me. So,
and it's just, and I'll let you go, LJ, too. But that thought didn't even cross my mind. I just thought, man, it's so cool to see him walk, and that's so neat. And then when that guy brought up on Twitter, still didn't even. I kind of fought it for a little bit. But then I thought, that is a really good point. But LJ, what do you think?
Oh, I agree. I just think I loved it and thought it was the coolest thing. But after you mentioned that, that's just, I agree wholeheartedly, and I don't have anything to add.
So really. I was reflecting on it a little more, and I started thinking more about it. And I rewatched it, and we'll post it in our show notes, and you can see it. And Roger Goodell, which I did mention I replied to the person on Twitter. I was like, well, I'm never going to say that Roger Goodell makes the smartest moves, and he doesn't always make the best decisions. And we can get that the man who was booed nonstop in the first round. It was great. But what was really interesting is Goodell, as he's introing him, and it is an inspiration, and to see him fight back, and that's true. But he was like adding to it, like it shows the unity of football and how the family is so strong and all this stuff. And he almost brought it as it was in like a good thing about football, that we're all behind Shazier and he's so inspiring. But really, Ryan Shazier is the strongest argument against the game. That someone on a play, like Dad said, on any given play, like these guys that are all getting drafted and are all happy, any given play, any random tackle where you're not even doing – they've changed some rules, but that same thing can happen to anyone. It wasn't – Shazier didn't lower it crazy with the crown of his helmet. It's just – that's an unspectacular play that can lead to a spectacular injury. That is,
and it's not even mentioning the slow burn of CTE that probably everybody in the NFL is building up right now.
They used that moment, and like you said, LJ, and when I watched it, all I thought was, man, that's so cool. What a great story. And I thought, good on the NFL. And then the more that he brought it up, he's right. Like you're using what your game can do to someone. You're using that as a way to make your game look better. That's terrible.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm proud of Shazier that he's back walking. That was exciting to see, regardless of what it implies. It's just so good to see he's active again. That's awesome.
And Shazier, actually, just a side note to end the conversation, Shazier does say that he plans on playing again in the NFL, and he's working to get back. And I'm not putting it past him. It's just the only thing is I don't know if people realized how before that injury he was one of the premier linebackers in the game, and if he can come back to that, I hope so. But you never know. That's kind of the whole point of this conversation is one hit can change things forever. So
for sure,
yeah. Dad,
so
I guess you don't have any worst. No worst. Do you have a second best or?
No, I don't have numerous. I mean, I'm just. It was a pretty good week. So no worst for me.
All right, El, do you have a worst or?
Well, you guys made me think of it because you're talking about how beautiful the weather is. It's 55 and it's the warmest day we've had here in a long time. So, so it's bright and sunny and cold. So, I guess not having a spring yet is probably my worst. I'm just ready for it.
Yeah, we've been just waiting on spring, and finally we got a weekend of spring. And man, every time I've been outside, there's been someone doing yard work or people are just trying to find a reason to be outside. Spring
and fall are the best times of the year. I can't wait. I want it.
Well, my worst is Daddy, you might kind of relate with this, but the Warriors beat the Spurs earlier in the first round. They knocked them out 4-1, which now brings up the question, is the great ageless wonder Manu Ginobili maybe going to hang up the basketball shoes and put the kicks in the locker for the last time? And what is my worst about it is, and I want to ask Dad about his thoughts on Ginobili, but anyone who watches the Inside the NBA crew and the TNT crew with Chuck, Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith, EJ, and Shaq, they are by far the best. They're awesome to watch. They're the best halftime show or post-game show out there in any sport. But Chuck has been known, Charles Barkley, for the past 7 or 8 years, probably more, is because Ginobili just keeps doing it for year after year. He just yells Ginobili. And I think they made him do one final Ginobili, and this could be it. So I'm going to let y'all hear it. Ginobili! And that was what EJ said they had to get. If this was the last game for Ginobili, they had to get at least one final Ginobili. And he just, right on cue, Charles Barkley just screams Ginobili out. And it's crazy to me, Dad. Ginobili was 2011, I think, is whenever the Heat beat the Spurs in the championship for their second one. I think that was 11 or 12. I don't know. But it was a good 5 years ago. Ginobili looked washed. He looked completely done. I think me and you had the conversation because you've been a fan of his. And I was like, he's done. He's hurting the Spurs more than he's helping. And now 5 years later, honestly, he could come back and he could help the Spurs. He helped the Spurs this year in the playoffs.
Oh, I think he could still play some limited minutes seriously and seriously help them. I think, what is he? Argentina? Where's he from?
Argentina, yes.
I mean, he is the best player Argentina has ever produced, I would think. I haven't looked that up. We'd have to look to see other players.
I haven't done research on it, but there's got to be.
Now, was he part of the team that won in the Olympics?
That made us change the way we do Olympics.
That made us change the way we do the Olympics. I mean, I haven't researched that, but
yes, you're right. I did some research on him because he was drafted in '99 and won he didn't come over to the NBA till 2002. Yeah, and where he really became known, the Spurs got him with the second to last pick in the '99 draft. And
really?
Yes, and there's actually only one other player from the '99 draft still playing in the NBA. And he actually was just in a playoff game yesterday. My man, Jason the Jet Terry, was drafted in that same draft, and he's still kicking.
Wow.
Well, I've got to say about Ginobili, I got a buddy that I just can't stand him because he says he flops. And I think Ginobili, he did have a little flop.
He brought that over from the Euro, that soccer flopping, and now it's taken over the league. I mean...
Well, I think that's improved some, hadn't it? It actually has got
there's
terrible.
Still some vulgar flopping that happens.
But I agree. I mean, Ginobili can flop with the best. I mean, Harry could certainly at a time, but I loved his game. I mean, I think I wish he'd retire because he's still that good. He's 40 at least.
Like 41, I think.
I mean, I guess that's long in the tooth to play basketball at that level. So I wish he would retire. And real quick, I did want to mention the halftime show. You're talking about Kenny Charles, EJ, and I guess throw Shaq in there. There have been times that I would try to check out and see where they were in the game because I wanted to watch halftime.
I'm telling you, they are the best.
I would want to be able to see halftime and watch them talk about the games as opposed to seeing the game itself at times.
There's a video I have to show you guys, and I'll post it in the show notes. Or there's Kenny Smith's, like, I think they're like outtakes, and Kenny's asking about he got like a new SUV, and he wants to buy this new SUV, but it costs like $80 to fill it up, and so he doesn't want to have to pay that much to fill up the tank each time. And Shaq just goes, well, all you got to do is every time it gets half a tank, you just refill it up, so you never actually pay $80. And Kenny's like, yeah, but that's still, it's less each time, but I'm still paying that same amount of money over time. And Shaq's like, nah, you just put $20 in every time you get to half a tank. And Kenny was like, no, what? That'll only get a quarter of the tank. And they had this argument, and clearly Shaq is just a fool and not making any sense. And Kenny and them were just cracking up laughing. And it was clear to me watching the video that Shaq's just so big, no one's ever told him he's wrong. And so he couldn't believe that they were telling him he's wrong. He was clearly wrong, and he just couldn't believe it. That someone questioned him, because I think his whole life they just went, yeah, you're right, Shaquille. You're right.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, that crew's good. Interesting about Ginobili, they asked him at the game. He said he wasn't sure about coming back or not, but him and Steve Kerr had a cool moment. You might have remembered Steve Kerr was his freaking teammate at the Spurs.
Oh, yeah.
And Steve Kerr is now coaching against him at the Warriors. And Steve Kerr told him, hey, man, if you want to play, keep doing it. You're playing at a high level. Come back another year. I want to see you keep playing. You deserve it. And it was a cool moment to see them hug it out. And Ginobili was just like, I don't know, man. I'm going to go enjoy the offseason. I don't know.
I mean, Ginobili's been bald for 6 years.
He's been going bald since 2006. I mean,
yeah, and it's not the shave thing. I mean, I think he has kind of close cropped his hair, but it's his forehead's gotten huge and been that way for a while. So, yeah.
Speaking of retirements, I do want to pour one out for, you see, our boy, the Iron Man for the Cowboys, Jason Witten. He's hanging him up. And he's going to join Monday Night Football crew at ESPN.
Yeah.
Is that a done deal?
You're not going to be able to get away from a former Cowboy in the booth anymore.
Which I thought he was going to be I don't think he's not, because ESPN is looking for to refill the Monday Night Football game. Right? Gruden and Schulman.
Who's Gruden with?
Both of them are now gone. It's open, and I think it's going to be Peyton Manning. Personally, I just think he would fit, and that would make sense. But ESPN's going to have to open up the checkbook probably. But I thought someone told me that Jason Witten was going to apply for, or that he took that job. Like, that's the job he's getting at ESPN. I was like, wow, what a transition for my boy. I've never heard him on the air. But he's just joining the Monday Night Football crew, like the.
And Witten was going to play, right? He was playing.
He had said he's coming back, and now something changed, I guess. And
this happened in the last 2 days, right?
Thursday,
2 or 3 days.
First round of the draft, the news broke. Shefty and them broke it. Which, by the way, Shefty was wearing the flyest looking suit jacket Thursday night for the first round. He was looking pretty fresh.
I'll have to check that out. I don't remember.
But yeah, former whole Cowboy. Witten's been
Witten will be. He's Ring of Honor. He's class of Cowboys. I mean, he's class of the NFL. I think he is a classy guy, Hall of Famer. But Jason Witten, I hate to see him go. He's been one of my favorite Cowboys of all time.
And I agree. It's probably he's been long in the tooth for a few years and somehow still producing, which is insane. But
still producing. Yeah.
You knew the time was coming soon, and he's been a good Cowboy. Pretty much since I've been watching the Cowboys, he's been the tight end. So it'll be weird seeing him not on the field. Switching gears a little bit from Jason Witten to a guy that's completely unlike Jason Witten. Kanye West has been making a stir on the internet lately, Our boy, it was interesting. So he, among the main things that has really created a stir is he has completely endorsed and kind of shown his admiration for none other than President Donald Trump, which seems like a very unlikely friendship, at least to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that got a huge uproar and people arguing. And I just was going to ask you, LJ, your thoughts on all this stuff going on with Kanye and his different tweets.
It's weird because it doesn't feel like the Kanye that I think I know relates to Donald Trump in any way other than wealth. Like, I just don't feel like they've got hardly anything in common. But I think that's kind of the interesting thing about this is, like, you can't really box somebody like that. Like, Kanye is a particularly deep person that has a lot going on in his head. So it's kind of hard to say even what he likes or dislikes about Donald Trump. I don't know. It's just, I think it's really interesting, and it kind of is a little bit disheartening to me because I'm not a big fan of the man. And so it kind of, I don't know, it feels weird for somebody that I think has a whole lot of influence jumping on the side of somebody that I feel like leads his campaign through hatefulness. But I think one of the things that he's said a lot is that he wants to sell the same story. He wants to say, let's make America great and let's leave out the hate. And I think that's a good message. I mean, I think we all need to be working together and we don't need to be thinking about us versus them. And that's the message that he's preaching right now. And so, it's hard to disagree with that. So,
well, and
I don't know. Have you listened to Ye versus the People yet, Kevin?
I have. I listened to it earlier, and it was really interesting. I think what's neat about what Kanye West is saying is, and LJ mentioned this before. He hasn't really. I don't know why he hasn't said why he endorses Trump. He kind of just said. I think one of his tweets was he's a fire dragon like myself. And Kanye is an odd guy. I mean, that's dragon one thing. Energy. If you think I kind of understand Kanye West. I do think that he's a musical genius for sure. And I do think he's a very smart human being. I don't understand the man. I never will. I'm not going to try to. I guess that's one thing about geniuses. They're all crazy. That's kind of the thing, right?
It's a pretty common link. It's a pretty common link.
But what his big point was, I really was bothered by it. So when this first happened, John Legend, who's a singer, pianist, and I love John Legend. I really like his music. Yeah. It's interesting what him and his wife, their tweets, they realize they have a platform, and I feel like they try to use it for the best, at least what they believe in. And I always like it when people do that, to use that platform.
They're interesting, yeah.
As long as they're not talking shit about people with flip-flops on.
Right. Yeah, we might have to touch on that. They weren't hating on singers. Well, John Legend wasn't. His wife was. So John Legend texted Kanye West. Apparently they're friends. They've had a couple songs together, and apparently they're buddies. And he texted him in like this kind of long message and real short and sweet, basically just said, hey, man, you have a really, I don't know if you realize this, but you're very influential and you have a huge platform. I mean, only 27 million people follow him. So one of the biggest platforms in the world is Kanye.
Yeah, if he could retweet this show,
that would be helpful. By the way, Ye, if you want, just go ahead and hit the retweet button real quick. But so he just was saying, I don't know if you want to align yourself. If you've thought that, I would think you should talk this out and think this out before you align yourself with someone like this, because you are a very influential person. And Kanye, he screenshotted it and tweeted it and was like, people disagreeing with what I believe in, all this stuff. And at first I was like, dude, that's a buddy of yours. What are you doing? Don't throw him out to dry like that. But his whole point was like what you're saying in the Ye versus the People. And I think is what this whole thing is although it's odd, like you don't understand why he likes Trump and you don't agree with it, you can still be like him and John Legend still posted pictures and videos with each other this weekend, and they were hanging out and having a great time. And I think his point is, I can like President Trump and LJ doesn't have to, and that doesn't mean we have to hate each other. We can talk about why.
I think that's what he's saying.
He's just saying we don't have. We're so worried about, especially what. He mentioned that this is the day. This is like the age of free thinking, where you have Twitter and social media and Facebook, and you can have your ideas. But we're all so worried about well, I don't want to share this because I know I have so many friends and family members that feel so against it that I probably won't. And that's just, be you. Think for yourself. We're in an information age, but I think he mentioned it's an information age, but we're starved for information. We keep going to other outlets for information. Think for yourself and have an open dialogue. If you disagree, talk about it. Don't just say you're wrong, I hate you. Talk
but that's kind of what I think
that's
is maybe a little bit. I think it's a little bit interesting and wrong though of him. Maybe he is saying all this, but then I can't find anywhere what his positives are for the Trump administration.
Right, I agree with you.
And so, like, you know, it might be he might have some really eye-opening thoughts that I would just really need to read or listen to or whatever. But like in the whole song "Ye versus the People," it seems like he just kind of rambles on about how he has the ability to do so, and then he ends the song really interestingly by saying, "Let's just let the people talk about it." But then he doesn't seem to give us anything to talk about and anything to grasp a hold of other than our own already biases. And so I feel like he's not. This doesn't feel like something that he's doing that gives me any ability to come around towards anybody, or you know, it doesn't. He's not making an argument. He's just making. He's being loud. It feels like to me. I don't know.
Well, I want to say something that made me think about this is that I know we have touched on race and racism in this show, and I think we've tried to be careful because we are white guys talking about racism. And while I clearly feel like I cannot understand the black experience in this country because I don't have that perspective, if I'm not allowed to talk about racism and what I feel like it is and have a dialogue, then we're not going to get anywhere. If I feel like we're going to stay right where we are. You know, I guess what you made me think of when Kanye's talking about he likes Trump. Okay, let's let him like Trump and tell us why. Let's open the dialogue. I'm a middle-aged or slightly more middle-aged white man. Let me talk about what I think racism is. And you know what? I'm going to be right on some stuff. I'm going to be wrong on some stuff. But let's have the dialogue.
Instead of just instead of just throwing hate around, because that's all we're doing. That's hate. Not getting us anywhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
And silent hate is even worse. Yeah. It's you can't deal with silent hate. And so let's talk about it.
And so to piggyback off what LJ said, and then we'll move on to another topic. But the only issue I have with some of this is Dad, I don't know, you might not have noticed this. I'm sure you don't keep up with what Kanye West does on Twitter or when his albums drop, but he's kind of notorious for it because he's a really smart businessman, smart at marketing. He's notorious for right around the time an album's getting ready to come out, and he announced like a couple of weeks ago that he was dropping a new album in July, I think, and also he's doing a collaboration album with Kid Cudi.
Yeah. And
so it's a big time for Kanye West. And all of a sudden, he hasn't tweeted in forever, and all of a sudden he starts tweeting these just, like LJ said, almost, part of me, I agree with what he's saying, but then part of, like, I like that he's opening for free thought and all this, but also I'm like, you're kind of just being loud. Like, you're just saying things to get the pot stirred and get people talking about you, which he's doing. Like, we're talking about Kanye West, right? And then also we mentioned he has an album coming out, so it's working. If that's all he's doing, I hate that if it's just a big marketing ploy. But if he does want us to talk more, then more power to you. You're using your platform well, and not just for the gain of money. Which,
okay, this makes me think of something. So,
all right.
I'm watching this documentary type series on Netflix. And the reason I'm watching it, and I'm just going to mention it on our podcast, Wild Wild Country. I think, is it Wild Country or Wild Wild Country?
I think it's Wild Wild Country on Netflix.
Wild Wild Country. And what I did is, so I'm listening to Bill Simmons and Chuck Klosterman on a podcast, and Klosterman mentions it. And then I'm listening to Dak Shepard, and I believe it might have been Katie Couric on a podcast, and Dak Shepard mentions it. And so, like, two, I think, seemingly unconnected sources that I kind of interested in mention this same series, and I'm like, I'm going to check this out. And actually, Tammy had heard it on a radio show that she listens to. I mean, Maria Menudo, I believe is her name.
Sure.
So okay, here's the thing that I'm getting to. So Pat Monahan of Train has Train Tracks on the Pulse, Sirius FM 15. And I like to listen to it. I'm usually working Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. I think he comes out at 9 o'clock on Friday night. But I listen to his new music, and I kind of like to hear what he's got. I found out that a friend of ours had a song. And to get on Train Tracks with Pat Monahan, she alleged there was a fee involved to get your song mentioned on Train Tracks with Pat Monahan. And I'm like, oh my God, I hope not. But I wonder, is somebody planting Wild Country with Dak Shepard, with Chuck Klosterman, that's going to be on Bill Simmons' podcast, with Maria Menudo, who's on some show? Is this all smart. A conspiracy?
The best way of advertising is word of mouth. And if we think we happen to hear it three different times.
That's what it is.
Yeah, I have a genuine recommendation.
It seemed genuine, exactly, LJ, because we heard it. I heard it in two separate venues, and then Tammy heard it in a separate venue, and we're going to watch it. And it's pretty interesting, by the way. But this is what Kanye's doing. Is this all a freaking conspiracy money thing?
That happens a lot. I know that's one thing. I use this site Reddit a lot because it's just like a way to kill time on the internet. And one of the things that's been breaking lately is that you can buy Reddit accounts and then post things about, just like something genuinely kind of funny that somebody did with Doritos or something like that. And then so like a company like Doritos will pay just whatever it takes to get this like seemingly genuine endorsement of their product, or some way to make them look cool, or some way to make people want to do this thing. So they got to go buy a bag of Doritos or whatever. They'll pay big money for it. Like you can actually sell your genuineness to companies right now on the internet. So I'm sure you can do it in any other venue. I think you're definitely onto something, Dad. That does sound.
Wow. By genuineness on the internet. That's an interesting statement.
Yeah. That's something.
Well, one other thing to add to that, this same girl mentioned that you could have like lunch with the Kardashians for a fee. So you are having lunch at some crazy Hollywood, California restaurant with the Kardashians for $10K. But people see you with them.
You're on TMZ. I guarantee you're on TMZ if you go out with Kardashians.
It's publicity.
And
it was all that. So
one of the ways that rappers get well known right now is apparently if you get played by a strip club DJ in Atlanta, that's a pretty good track to be on the radio soon. So people are paying strip club DJs in Atlanta big money to be on their playlists.
I guess it's yet to see what this whole mess is on Twitter from Kanye. I'll go ahead and admit I'm probably going to keep up with it because I'm ready to hear his new album.
Me too.
And I like his music, so we'll see. Another guy who may not be the best at marketing and publicity is, let's get to the NFL draft. And Roger Goodell, surprising to no one but maybe himself, opened the draft to a loud ring of boos in Dallas Stadium. And did y'all see how hard he tried to not be booed? It was the greatest thing ever.
He was, when I saw it in Chicago, it was the same thing. He was instantly booed all the time from not only the place he was actually in, but also the giant park that we were all in. You could hear it from different parts of Chicago, the whole park booing. And so then the next pick, he brought out a kid with cancer. And then the next pick, and still when the kid walked out, everybody was silent. And then as soon as Goodell said another word, the boo started.
Well, good God, who did he have? He had Staubach, Aikman, and
that's what
Jason
he thought.
Witten.
He had this planned out. He was like, I got it planned out. I'm going to find a way not to. So he gets up there and he's like, how are you going to boo these awesome Cowboys?
They're like, no, we're not booing them.
No. We all know who we're booing here, Roger. Don't get shit twisted on this. And then right after that, he brings out captains of all the local high school football teams, thinking that might help. And he doesn't even know anything about them. He's just like, these are really good kids. I've heard these are good kids at the local high schools, and they're still booing him and just booing him. And Roger, you just got to just accept it. You're getting booed at every draft.
Yep. Hey, well, that's why they pay him, though.
Yep.
So
he gets paid to be the face to boo. So.
Hey, and you know what? He gets paid really well.
Yes, he does.
Like $40 million or something. It's something ridiculous.
Yeah. And a jet, I think.
And a jet at his disposal.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
He's doing just fine.
I'd take some booing. Boo the hell out of me and give me a meal. Whatever.
Well, we even got good ideas for commission.
Well, speaking of a guy who might have to get used to some booing is Oh, Baker Mayfield went first overall to Cleveland. I had heard some rumblings. Ben mentioned it when we had him on a couple weeks ago, and I get it. I've watched some film, and there's a lot to him. But at first overall, you got to pick someone that you know is good. And I just get a little worried with. I think some of the stuff about his off the field things are overblown, but there's a little bit of a question mark. There's a little bit of iffiness to him. What did y'all think about the Browns making that decision to go Baker 1?
I think I still stick with they should have gone 0 quarterbacks and gone in the free agency.
Yeah, well, clearly the Browns are going to – they made the right move clearly because they didn't do what I said and they didn't do what LJ said. So they obviously did the right thing.
Well, it shocked me. I mean, but obviously Baker Mayfield's leadership ability and ability to make people follow him really struck people. I mean, he has got some talent. There is no doubt about that. And he's obviously had one concussion because I've seen it on film in Fayetteville, Arkansas when he gets his head slammed. He's had one concussion for sure.
One tackle he couldn't avoid was the Fayetteville PD.
Yeah, he couldn't outrun the Fayetteville Police Department, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. And then they shocked me though when their 4th pick they took that D-back that I mean, I'm sure he's good.
Denzel Ward. I do think he's the best corner in the draft out of Ohio State, but it's just
but Chubb shouldn't have fell to Denver is all.
And we'll get to that in just a second. But
LJ's getting aroused.
Part of me thinks. If you like Baker, at the first pick, if you like Baker Mayfield and he's who you think is the best quarterback in the draft, because I kind of thought my first thought was they could have traded down and got Baker maybe a little later because I think Darnold was the consensus number 1. But if you like Baker Mayfield and you think he's the guy and you got the number 1 pick, it's like what the Bears did with Trubisky. Go get him. Go make sure. Don't leave it to chance.
Get your guy.
And Hugh Jackson and that GM, they are married to this quarterback. Their job, if Baker Mayfield doesn't work, that GM's getting fired. So if you think he's good, go do it.
So can you name all the quarterbacks on Cleveland's roster right now? They've got Tyrod Taylor.
Right.
They got Baker Mayfield. They got Deshaun Kaiser.
No, we were wrong. I got texted. Deshaun Kaiser was traded when they did the Tyrod Taylor. They traded Deshaun Kaiser to the Packers.
Oh, so Kaiser's
so
gone.
He's a Bill.
Okay.
Yeah, he's backing up Rodgers at the Packers.
Are they still paying Osweiler? Or
they actually made the pick. They made the $17 million pick in the 2nd round this year in the draft. I forget who they got. They got Nick Chubb, the running back from Georgia. He ended up being a $17 million 2nd round pick. So, because they traded that pick. Yeah. But so, and then we saw a running back go number 2. Barkley went 2. I thought that was wild. I thought for sure Giants would go Darnold when he dropped, but. I want to get real quick, and then we'll get to why LJ is getting a little aroused over there. But it's why the NFL draft is beloved by fans. I don't know if y'all noticed Friday night when they aired the 2nd and 3rd rounds on ESPN. There was also a Game 6 playoff game, the Raptors versus the Wizards. ESPN had the rights to that game. They moved that game over to ESPN News so they could run the 2nd and 3rd rounds of the NFL draft on prime time Friday night.
I did not catch that.
So NFL's doing, like you mentioned earlier in the best, NFL's doing just fine as far as their health. But I figured out why the draft is beloved by all fans. It's because what we do as fans is we make up reasons, like say if the Cowboys lose week 1, I'm going to make up a reason why. They're still in my head. I'll be a little upset, but by Thursday, I'm like, all right. All we got to do is fix this. If Ezekiel gets the running game going, the corners start figuring out, we start rushing the passer better, we can get back to the team I think can make the Super Bowl. And then you usually get because only one team wins the Super Bowl, you usually end up disappointed. But the draft, there's no disappointment. The guy gets picked. So like the guy that the Cowboys drafted, when their pick's coming up, I'm thinking, ooh, they could get Calvin Ridley. He would be a really good receiver. I would really like that.
Seemed like a good,
And then they shocked me. I like Van Der Esch. I think he's really good. I kind of thought he'd be a good pick, but I thought he would be into the 1st round, maybe 2nd round. So when the Cowboys first picked him, I was like, what the heck? That seems early. But then you know what I did? As a fan does, I talked myself into it. I went, oh, wait a minute. If he ends up being this good at middle linebacker, and then we got him and Sean Lee. If Jalen Smith ever figures it out, and we don't get the disappointment, all we get is just a night full of, man, this is going to be so awesome for 10 years.
Yeah.
And
I'm
so
the
that's
same
why
way.
we love the draft.
They were comparing him to Brian Urlacher, and so then by the end of the thing, I'm like, okay, Van Der Esch,
All right.
Urlacher, okay,
Yeah.
all right, hell yeah.
So now you're talked into it, and it's not like a game when you get talked into a big playoff game, like when the Cowboys lost to that Aaron Rodgers making that throw against us in the playoffs a couple years ago. You get the
That still
disappointment.
hurts. That still hurts.
So we get amped up and we get the disappointment. But for this draft, we get amped up and there's no disappointment that follows. There's just more anticipation for the next 3 months.
When the disappointment hits, you've usually got another thing to look forward
Yeah.
to already.
So
Like
that's
3 or
why
4.
fans love the draft, because all it is just your hopes
That's
just
fair.
get built up. So
Okay, before we give LJ his excitement. So did you see? I think it was the first offensive lineman pick by San Francisco. I believe it
Yes.
was.
Yeah,
and they were
guard.
showing.
They picked one.
They're showing. I thought he was a tackle, but they were showing the San Francisco contingent at the draft, and they picked Michael McGlinty. Or I should know his
well, that
name.
wasn't the first. That was the first tackle taken. McGlinskey.
Okay, the first tackle, McGlinskey. And they show the San Francisco people, and I wish you could see my face. They're kind of like, that was their response. I mean, I felt so bad for the guys. Like, they don't even know who he is, but that's what you need. But anyway, I'm sorry. I just had to say it was hilarious
It
seeing
was.
the San Francisco contingent
Yeah.
going, who?
Well, so LJ comes on the podcast a couple weeks ago and preaches that the number one most important position, if not maybe quarterback, is a edge rusher. And what happens to the Broncos?
And who's the best edge rusher in the draft?
Bradley
who's-
Chubb, who many assume is the best player in the draft, drops
Yeah,
all the way
arguably.
down to 5. And now you get Von
Yeah.
Miller on one side and Bradley Chubb on the other. And Shane Ray will be back next year. LJ,
Yeah.
you just want to do your gloat for a little bit about how happy
Yeah,
you
do
are?
you need a
Man, I
moment?
don't
Do you need a moment by yourself, LJ?
I don't even have anything to say about that. That's a little warning here.
After Thursday night, Hannah walked out to the living room and there was tissue papers everywhere. And LJ,
LJ needs a cigarette or something. Good God.
I
Man.
did. So I was
could not have
watching
been
it.
happier with that pick.
When I saw that, I thought, wow. Like, first I was like, Chubb's going to drop to 5. And then the Broncos did it. And I just was like, LJ has got to be just gleaming right now. This is
First one I
perfect.
thought of when I saw it. First one I thought of LJ. I thought LJ's he's in good shape.
Oh man, that's yep. Yep.
Well, and so it makes sense to me for them I don't think they just loved any of the quarterbacks. They kind of liked Baker Mayfield, but they didn't think he would drop to 5, and they weren't willing to trade up for him because they had some question marks. So they thought, we got Keenum. We can go with Keenum for a year. We can see if we have anything in Lynch or not. And then, we can also maybe get a guy that can be an edge rusher. Like, that's one thing. The last few years when we've seen these edge rushers go really high, like the Clownies and the Watts and all these guys are supposed to be really good. That's one of those positions you kind of can tell when there's these once in a decade kind of guys. It's not like a quarterback where there's a big head thing. It's just, are you crazy athletic? Can you get past a tackle? All right, you're probably going to be a pretty solid player. So it's a very safe pick. I think the Broncos, I think John Elway's got to be just so happy with how that worked out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And based on their entire draft, I think we're looking at a team that any free agent's going to be looking at next year.
Well, so now he does this thing where a free agent quarterback comes up. They're gonna come talking. Any free agent's gonna be thinking Broncos, and if they like a guy next year or whenever, they can still play. And maybe Keenum is that guy. We saw Keenum go to the
So I was about
NFC
to say,
Championship.
Could you think of a more motivating thing than knowing that every free agent's going to be knocking down the door for a team that you could be successful with? Like, they've got a Super Bowl caliber team, in my opinion, maybe minus a quarterback. So if Keenum doesn't want to win it with this, that like he's gonna be motivated.
Yeah.
is all I know.
Great.
And so is Paxton Lynch. I mean, you got to walk in with this team and perform, because other's we'll just see who's available next year, because anybody will want to be here.
Who's the other quarterback on their roster? They've got somebody else, Denver does, on their roster, I thought would be competing for the backup job with Paxton Lynch.
No, they had a guy that was like Chad Kelly. They have him.
Chad Kelly.
Right.
He's got some
Yeah.
potential,
Right.
but he's kind of a head
Potential.
case.
But so they've
He's
got
got
some.
a
In case Keenum did well with
I
a
like
really
Case
good defense.
Keenum.
I mean, he did good with a good defense last year at Minnesota.
I like Keenum.
Keenum's got a shot.
Also, speaking of quarterbacks, he had to wait the entire night in the green room, but Lamar Jackson did get to go in the first round, went to the Ravens. I mean, that was I'm interested in that. The Ravens OC is Marty Morningwig, who was the Michael Vick coordinator. He was with him at Atlanta and at Philadelphia, so he knows kind of how that quarterbacks work. And also the Ravens signed RG3 earlier, so if there's any better mentor to show you, like, look, you're going to have to find a way to throw instead of getting tackled and hit, because obviously it's derailed his career.
That's the other genius thing, too, is I remember when Tebow was like, everybody was debating, is he going to be a reasonable NFL quarterback? The biggest knock is, well, if he gets hurt, you have nobody that plays his game in the entire NFL. Like, there's no common quarterback. And, RG3 is going to be a guy that can step in and play that style. So
I think that I know he probably hates getting drafted. Like, it kept dropping and kept dropping and kept dropping, but I think he could not have gone to much. Maybe I kept thinking the Patriots were going to do it. I just knew they were going to draft him, and they didn't. But I think Lamar Jackson, to me, he's got as good an arm as anyone in the draft, and he runs a 4.4, and it doesn't really. He didn't get hit a lot in college, and I think it's perfect. He's not going to be like RG3 and thrown into the offense and have this whole offense built around him day one. He's going to go. It's going to be Joe Flacco's team, and they're going to kind of teach him, here's how there's a few differences you need to learn. And RG3 had to learn that through getting hurt over and over again, and hopefully Lamar Jackson doesn't. I think he's going to sit around for a year, and I think it's going to work out well. I really think Lamar Jackson's going to be something.
I'll tell you what, I think I like Baltimore's coach. That John Harbaugh, I think, is one of the better coaches. He could coach my team anytime. I like him. He's solid. He relates with players. I like him better than his brother. I really like that situation for Lamar Jackson.
Well, and speaking of brothers, to touch up on our guy, Shaquem Griffin. Yeah. LJ, when did he get drafted in the 5th round? Did you see?
Yeah, 5th round.
Did you see? I think I didn't know. I knew it was 141 overall. I wasn't sure which round. But, Dad, he got drafted by the Seahawks, who is where his brother Shaquille Griffin plays. And if you remember when LJ told us the story, Shaquille had offers to go to Miami and turned them down so he could play with his brother at UCF. Mm-hmm. And now the two are going to get reunited, and they're going to play. They said they're going to be roommates next year, and it's just super cool.
I hate that I've become a little bit of a Seahawks fan as of 2 days ago, or 2 days ago.
Oh, you want to see this guy succeed, and he's got the tools to succeed, and he is motivated. I guess I'm a little bit of a Seahawk fan too. I hear you, but it's got to be hard for you to see. Are they still in Denver's? No, they moved over, didn't they?
They're in the NFC. Yeah, the Seahawks are. They beat.
They were
beat Peyton Manning they beat him in the championship and Super Bowl.
But, right.
Yep. Yeah.
But it was really
interesting.
Gotta be hard. Yeah, that's a wound that's still slightly open.
Yeah.
It was cool. I always loved the little stories of they recorded. I don't know who did it, what end, but they recorded the call when John Snyder, the GM of the Seahawks, told him he was going to get picked. And it was interesting. I heard a story. So they were together. Shaquille Griffin, Shaquem, and the family were all together. And Shaquem went to the bathroom. And Shaquille said he was sitting there, and like his nieces and nephews were on the ground in front of him. And he saw the phone on the desk or on the table, and it started ringing. And he recognized it was a Seattle area code. And so instantly he knew he was already watching the draft because he was like, oh, Seattle's coming up. I want to know who we're picking. And they all knew the way it works. You kind of know what area people are thinking about you, and people have called your agent about you and stuff. So they know Shaquem may go soon, and he knows Seattle's up. And all of a sudden he knows Seattle's on the clock, and Shaquem's phone's ringing, and it's a Seattle area code. So what he said he jumped over his niece and nephew, grabbed the phone, he said, I'm glad Shaquem wasn't doing anything bad in the bathroom because I just barged open the door and I tackled him and said, you have to answer this phone call. It's Seattle. Answer the call. And it was just awesome. And then the call's recorded, and Shaquem Griffin's like, I can't breathe. I don't know what to say. And it was cool. Pete Carroll got in there.
That's too cool.
Just show up. Be humble. And then Shaquem Griffin's like, that's it. I mean, that's what I am. I've been doubted my whole life, so let's go. I mean, it's cool. Yeah. I think Seattle got to deal with it, and I'm excited to see how it goes.
Yeah. I'm disappointed he didn't go to Denver. That would have been
God. I mean, just another edge rusher.
I think every team's disappointed they didn't get him.
Twice in the draft, you couldn't have handled that, LJ. It'd been too much. Somebody had to spray some water on LJ. Good God.
So we mentioned earlier that the draft's a great time for fans. So I kind of want to bring up another incident with fans this weekend. And did y'all see where Russ had a little run-in with some fans in Utah in Game 6 where they got closed out? Did you see that, Dad?
Yeah, I saw a little.
Mr.
I saw a little bit of that. Yeah.
Oh, Russell Westbrook. Yeah, so he was. If you didn't see it, he was going at halftime. He was going to this one was just funny if you watched it. He's going to the side or to the tunnel at halftime, and some fans, just giving it to him, just yelling at him and berating him. And Russell Westbrook, he says some not so kind words to the man. And when he yells back and kind of barks at the man jumped back so fast.
Yeah, he did.
He backpedaled so fast from the comments that he dinner fell backwards. I mean, he was just.
I mean, I would have too. I can't blame the guy. That was intense.
But you don't have a right to just call some bullshit on somebody and not. I was kind of on Russell Westbrook. I don't know what the guy said, but I was a little bit on Russell Westbrook's side. If you're going to talk a bunch of smack, be ready for some kickback on it.
Some pushback, yeah.
Well, and then the game ends, and the Russell Westbrook's obviously not happy because the Thunder lost and the Jazz move on, and now they're done again in the first round. And another fan's heckling Russell Westbrook a little bit, and he's putting the phone right up in Russell Westbrook's face. And so he swipes the phone away and yells something at him too. And you see him look over at the security guys it looks like he says something to the tune of, "Are y'all going to let that happen?" type of thing. Mm-hmm. And after the game, Russ talked about, they asked about why he confronted the fans, and he said that he didn't confront the fans confronted him. And in Utah, it's more disrespectful than most places, and they're real vulgar with what they say to visiting players, saying that they talk about your families, your kids, and that disrespect just won't fly with him, he said. And he said that's one thing. He said the biggest problem is these people wouldn't say these things to him out in the public, but they're
because he'd whoop their ass.
Right, and you see it right there when the guy, you'll yell, and I think it perfectly fits the way fans are in social media day and age. And it's what I hate is they just yell and all these obscenities and maybe yell about your family and kids. But if they saw Russell Westbrook in the parking lot or in the street, they'd probably go, "Hey, Russell, can I get a pic? I love your game. It's so cool." And it's just be the same person. It bothers me to see people heckle like that.
Yeah.
Be the same person. I like that. Be the same person all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's so many of what people call the eggs out there on Twitter where they follow 500 people and they have no followers, and all they do is just berate these athletes and just tweet at them and why it's one thing if you disagree. You can tweet something like, "I hate you for making that catch and beating my team," but that's you being fans are. It's short for fanatics, so you're gonna be a little fanatic, but you don't need to go in there if the person's talking about his family and his kids, and that's just there's no room for that anywhere.
Yeah.
There's no room for that in life or in basketball, or it's annoying to see that. And if that's what was going on, I'm on Russ's side. I'm fully with him.
I think I am too.
And
I think I am too.
And speaking of that game, Dad, I don't know if it seems more so than ever. I don't know if you watched the game. Donovan Mitchell in that series. In the series, he averaged 28.5 points per game as a rookie. We've already mentioned him with Rookie of the Year or not, all that stuff. I don't think he needs to worry about Rookie of the Year because he's putting on a stint as he's one of the premier players in the NBA.
He's one of the best players in the NBA. Yeah,
and,
no doubt.
Well, in that game in particular, Ricky Rubio went down after halftime. He had a hamstring injury and wasn't coming back. And it's clear that Rubio is he's kind of like what Rondo is for the Pelicans. He might not score a lot, but he's the engine that makes that offense go. And Mitchell scores, but Rubio kind of makes it all work. And so you saw the guys, the TNT guys at halftime were like, "Oh, I think we're going to a game 7 with Rubio gone unless Mitchell can do something crazy." And what did Mitchell do in the first 6 minutes of the third quarter? Comes out and scores 15 of his 22 points in the third quarter and erupts and is going blow for blow with Russell Westbrook and does not look phased at all. And then we saw the same thing it was funny. It had to be annoying for Russell Westbrook to see Mitchell out there just knocking down shot after shot when Paul George was looking, I think he went 3 for 18 or something, looking like Philip Seymour Hoffman on Along Came Polly. It was just all you heard with Paul George was this right here. That's all. That's all you heard with Paul George. It's just he was jacking them up, and they were not going in. And
Rain dance.
and it's just, and then you saw it with the Sixers where they beat the Heat 4-1. You mentioned it last week, where guys like you're Ben Simmons and guys like Dwayne Wade is like throwing back time and having one of his all-time games, and Ben Simmons is going blow for blow, and just these young guys. It seems like there used to be a time where the young guys would go, "Wow, the playoffs is a different animal," and Dwayne Wade and Russell Westbrook, and kind of be starstruck. And these guys look like they feel like they deserve to be right there with them in the same conversations. And
I think we hit on this earlier, and this is going to take a little different slant, but I think kids today are raised by parents that want them to be whatever they want to be. I was raised by parents that wanted me to go to work, make a living. I had to make money, and we raise our kids today more, follow your dream, do your thing, be who you are. And these kids, I think you're seeing it. I think this is what you're describing. These guys are being who they are. They're confident.
that's it. It's the confidence.
They're confident in themselves. I see it with my kids. I see it with Tammy's kids. I mean, y'all are we're more emotionally evolved. We're more emotionally evolved, and I think your kids that's a phrase trademark. Tammy coined that for me, but I think your kids will be more emotionally evolved because it's like you realize the earlier you realize. Live your life. Do something you love. Starve for a little while. But if you're doing something you love, you're going to be all right. And these guys, they're not backing down to anybody because they've never been taught that you have to back down to anybody.
Well, that's so interesting. I think you're hitting on such a point because these guys, like before, when you're Michael Jordan coming up, you're taught like you're going to have to come out and you have to pay your dues, and you're going to lose in the first round a couple of times to those stars, and you'll get your time. LeBron, you'll get your time. And Ben Simmons is like, why can my time not be right now? Why can't I win the championship this year? And it's just a different confidence level. Like you see with Mitchell, Russell Westbrook started getting hot in the third quarter. Rubio's down, and what does Mitchell do? He goes, why can't I win this game for the team? And he comes out and just starts knocking down shot after shot. And it's just the confidence these guys at 20 years old and 19 years old are playing with is amazing. I think you're really hitting on something. It's just these kids are told from a young age, why not you? Why not now?
Why not you?
Yeah, Dad, you're on fire today.
I'm telling you, he is. Lip is on point. He said he came in with no notes, and he's just on it today.
Yeah, man, off the dome from now on.
Yeah, listeners, you are getting Lip off the dome.
Off the dome.
So, Dad, we do with the Sixers winning earlier, and now the Celtics clinched the Game 7 earlier this weekend. We get a little Sixers-Celtics rematch. Do you remember a little Sixers-Celtics back in the day?
Oh, my God. Yes. Doc J and Larry Bird and Mo Cheeks and Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish and Bobby Cunningham. What was the guy? I can't remember the center. Shit. People, I failed there. But
people my age don't understand. So I was hearing a lot about the rivalry, and I know I know Dr. J was on the Sixers. I know Bird. But I didn't realize apparently that those two have had the most playoff series of any team in NBA history, any two teams. And the Sixers have been bad for so long. I think a lot of people watching the game, like my age, don't realize like this is. I saw the video resurface. I've seen it before, but Bird and Dr. J like choking each other out and punching at each other. I mean, for someone like for you, is this not awesome to see Sixers Celtics back in the Garden? It's got to be cool.
Well, yes, but golly, it was cool seeing Dr. J. Larry Bird was kind of the younger guy at that point, and he was. If you didn't see Larry Bird play, I'm sorry. You should have, because he wasn't backing down from anybody, any way, anytime, and he would go up and try to strangle Doc. Whatever. It was just what a series they had, and I love this. But now Philly's going to win.
Yeah.
I mean, Philly's
I wish Kyrie was playing or something.
Yeah.
Like the Celtics, there's no way they beat Philly. There's not, in my opinion.
They're not beating Philly.
I think what you kind of hit on, and I hadn't thought about this till now, but something your era of basketball watching got that I think my era has gotten deprived of a little bit is you got to see. So like when Bird's coming up, he played against Dr. J, who plays like his same position. So they were going at each other. We had LeBron and Kobe, and we never got that finals matchup of LeBron versus Kobe. It was always Kobe played the Celtics, and then LeBron played the Spurs. Like, we never saw positions that really guard each other go at it. Like, I felt like with Bird against Magic and Bird against Dr. J, there was positions clashing at each other, and you saw them really going at each other's neck. And
well, but Bird was probably a 3, and Magic was playing.
But they were the
1,
same height
they
wise.
still
They had to guard each other.
The same height. They had to guard each other, and did. Yeah. I saw. By the way, and you may get into this, but I saw LeBron, in Cleveland, won Game 7 today. I think he's done. I really don't think they can beat Toronto, and so I think. So you have Toronto and Philly in the finals, and I think that's going to be an interesting Eastern final.
It's hard for me to say. It's hard for me to say the Raptors are going to beat Cleveland just because LeBron's had his number, and LeBron is still the best player on the planet.
LeBron is still LeBron. He is the best player on the planet. That is without a doubt. You're right. What's that? Well, I got some bullshit I want to talk about.
That's exactly where I wanted to go, Dad. So why don't you open it up? Because I have a question or a situation I find myself in that maybe y'all can help. So what's some bullshit you want to talk about today, Dad?
Well, the one thing is so when you open up iTunes on your computer, it has a little dialog box. It'll go, I've noticed that iTunes is not your default media player. Would you like to fix this now? And there's a little checkbox down there that says, do not show me this again. And every time, and the key word that I'm saying is every time I say, do not show me this again. Do you see anything wrong there? If it says, do not show me this again, and I check it, there should not be an every time I have to click this box. So I click the box that says, do not show me this again. I don't want you to be my default media player. And I go ahead. And the next time I open iTunes, it comes up with this little dialog box. It says, we've noticed that iTunes is not your default media player. Would you like to fix this? No, blankety blank. I would not like to fix this damn thing. And I hit the box again. So,
but you still go through every time and hit that box and press no, don't you?
Well, because I should just not even hit the box anymore. It's like Apple. Why the hell do you even put the box there? Quit putting the damn box there because it's obviously bullshit.
What's in
and
the
it
box?
doesn't work. If you're gonna ask me every time, it's just I might as well put the blank in the box because it's not gonna work. It pisses me off. That's what it does.
Oh my goodness!
Well, I have a question though for you.
Grinds my gears.
That's what grinds my
I feel like you
gears.
have a very pressing question for Dad here.
Well, first off, what's your default media player?
The one that's the regular default, the Windows media player is my regular
You're
default.
using Windows Media Player on your Apple computer instead of iTunes?
No, this is at work. Like I'm on my PC. I'm on my PC.
Okay. Well,
But
what are you using iTunes for in the first place?
That is a good. Why are you opening up your iTunes?
Well, because it needs to update. I've got a new version of
delete
iTunes. I have
iTunes.
to
What do you
update
use
it or
iTunes
something.
for? What do you use
That's
iTunes
the
Should I
for?
just delete iTunes?
Yeah, why do you need it?
You know, that's a good
That's
question.
what I was like, what does Dad use
damn
iTunes for? I don't have a
anymore.
clue.
Well, I don't know what the hell I use it for, but I did for a long time, so I guess I think I should steal
That's
every now and
loyalty
then.
right there. That's brand
And
get rid of
loyalty.
it.
The hell with it.
Get rid of it.
Well, I'm done with it. By God, I decided right now I'm done with freaking iTunes.
will say-
so there.
Hey,
Pisses me off.
developers out there, don't put a false box or Dad will cut you off.
Well, I mean, just don't put the box on there. Just say we're really effing with you. We're not going to really stop asking you this if you check
If it
the
said that
box.
at the
Just go ahead
bottom,
and
do you
tell
think
me
that'd be
that.
a little bit more? You'd be okay with that? Like, well, they
I
told
would
me.
be better.
Just
They told
be
me-
honest
they told
with
me they
me.
were
Just
just
tell me
messing
that
with me.
this is
Yeah.
going to piss me off every time,
Just
and I'll
be
be
real.
okay with it. But don't make me think I solved the issue. And then it's
Yeah, say check this box and we'll piss you off the next time you open it up. I go, okay, well, I'll check the damn box and just see. But it's just bullshit.
Well,
I'm pissed off about it.
I will say
Grinds my
for
damn
whatever. So
gears.
we have at my work computer, I'll get on it, and sometimes I have to get my email wasn't working for the longest time, and I had to get on Firefox. It wouldn't work on Chrome for whatever reason, so I had to use Firefox. And it would always say, "We see that Firefox is not your default browser. Would you like to set it as so?" And I would always click. I don't think it even had a box for me. Maybe it did. I don't know. But it would have not right now or yes. And I would click not right now as if maybe the next time I might set it to be my default browser, but then I would come in on Tuesday, and once again it would ask me, and I would say, no, not right now. And I don't know why. It annoyed me that I had to click it every single time, but I always would just click not right now. So I don't know why I did that. That was just dumb on my part. Probably the same reason you're opening up iTunes for whatever reason.
Well, I had like a similar thing happen to me this weekend while I'm running the show from like, we've got this fancy board that I'm connected to with my laptop. So I'm like controlling the band through my laptop. And then I accidentally click on Safari. And then it waits about 45, 50 seconds to tell me that Safari is not my default browser and asks if I want to change it. I can't click anything else until I deal with this dialog box, and I'm in the middle of a show.
Yeah.
Well, and the shitty thing is, if you would have told it to not happen again before that, to where that wouldn't pop up, it probably still would, because, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure this wasn't the first time that someone's accidentally clicked on Safari and had that issue on this laptop. Yeah.
Well, okay, and quick shout out to Google Chrome, right? It does ask you the first time, but if you say don't ask me again, Google Chrome doesn't ask me every time I open it up.
Yeah.
So shout to Google Chrome, by God.
That's some free.
Which I actually like the browser.
That's some free advertisement.
Hey, Google Chrome, this could be you right here. Yeah. This could be you.
Well, but see, here's the deal. Now they don't have to pay for it. You just gave them the free advertisement.
Yeah. Well, let's just act like they're paying for it. So,
well, we can act like it all we want. It doesn't mean our bank account ain't going to reflect it. But so, I have a question for you guys. So there's this guy it's the same person. Every now and then when I go, he's not there every time, but every now and then when I go work out, there's this guy that shows up, and he's he's a mid-aged guy, probably 40, 45. I don't know. But he'll always want to, he did the first time he did that, I could tell. He was like, I'm working out. I have my headphones in. So clearly I'm not there to talk to people. And I can tell. He like comes down and he sits near me and he keeps like looking over. He wants to talk to someone because I'm in my weird graveyard schedule and it was on my off day. So I'm there at like 11 p.m. or something. There was like no one there. And clearly the guy was trying to talk to me. And I tried to ignore him for the longest time. For like 10 minutes, I just ignored him. But I just couldn't. I felt like I was being so rude. So finally, he says something kind of, and I take a headphone out and I start talking to him, and we talk. Of course, we talk for like 5 or 10 minutes. So first, my question is, how do you? It's like when you pass by someone, and you say, "How's it going?" and they actually answer your question instead of just saying "good." How do you get out of that conversation? And you can't. You've opened the door, and is that just it?
You're done there.
Because now it's even worse.
Yeah, you're giving up that
every time. So I'm getting there. I'm about to do some. I forget what I was doing. I was doing something like where there was a bench in front of me, and this guy sits on the bench. Like I'm taking a break. I'm going to get a drink of water, and he sits on the bench that I'm working out at as he's talking to me, and like crosses his leg and starts talking. And I'm like, "You've got to be kidding me! You're not even allowing me to ignore you. You're sitting right here." And I opened the door 3 weeks ago, and now once a week I have to have a 15-minute conversation with the man, and it's just not ideal.
Yep, you messed that up.
I was wondering if there's any way I can fix it, or if it's just without being a total just dickhead to the person, which I'm not going to do because I can't. I think
that's the thing. I think that's the thing you got to learn because
to be a dickhead.
Transit, well, you either be a dickhead or you deal with it. Those are your options. You can either say, "Look, man, I don't want to talk," or
well, I guess it kind of goes to what Dad was saying. If the box would be honest and they would just tell him that it's going to pop up every time, maybe I should just be honest with the person. Go, look, it's not you. I just want to get in here and get out. I just don't want to talk. So I'm going to ignore you and just let them know instead of.
You're not going to be my default talker at the
Do not show me this email.
They should have a dialogue box that pops up and says how many conversations they're going to want to have with you a week before you take your headphone out, so you know whether it's worth it.
Well, what if you say, so he's sitting on the bench with his legs crossed? What if you say, "Hey, dude, can you move? I got to do a workout."
So the thing is clearly, and he's brought it up to me, he's clearly a man who is middle-aged. He has no family here in Fort Smith, and he wants to find a girlfriend. He's asked me about girlfriends around here. And he's asked me, like, do I know good places?
He might be
and he talked about this one girl.
He might be hiring a podcast host is what I'm thinking.
And the guy, I feel kind of bad for the dude, so I kind of want to talk to him, or at least like so someone will, because I think everyone ignores him up there. And so I don't know. It's a rock and a hard place.
Well, be nice, but sorry, I got to get a set. Move your ass. I got to get a set.
Be late for work every day. That's an option.
Be late for work. Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah, I guess that is an option, but.
Well, no, I'm saying he doesn't need to know that when he wants to start a conversation, be like, look, I just got to finish this up and I got to go. And then you just power through your sets or whatever and then get out of there. And then, you've got extra time because you're not actually late for work. Run by Sonic,
Go get. Oh, that reminds me. So I have an ethical question about Sonic. Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
So I hope Sonic's not listening to me. But so I had the other day I went and got, a couple weeks. I'll assure you. A couple weeks ago, I went to Sonic and I ordered something and it said, answer this survey on your receipt at talktosonic.com and you can get a free Route 44 Sonic drink. And I was like, oh, I've done this before. Basically, it's just go through and have to answer. It's going to be a lot of questions, but go through and answer. It takes about 5 minutes and I can get a free drink. So I did it. Filled it out and it said, put this number on your receipt. Yeah. So I went to Sonic and I was like, hey, I got a receipt for a free Route 44 drink. Went before work and they're like, all right, what would you like? I ordered my cherry limeade, got my drink. And then when they came, I thought I'd have to show them my receipt or something. They just handed me a drink. So I kind of thought, all my receipt says is this is valid for the next 14 days. Use it within the next 14 days. So the next day I went back and I was like, I'll actually, I was going to make sure to use my receipt. And again, they gave me my free drink and they don't ask for the receipt at all. And let's just say I've done it another time. Am I
at the same Sonic? Are you going to the same Sonic every time?
One of the times they gave me a receipt with my free drink that's like voided out free survey drink. And it was like, the car hop even said, you actually have another free survey on this drink if you want to answer this survey. So I just brought back my old receipt with the number written on, just in case they ever, I'll keep it in my truck just in case they ever ask for the receipt. I do have it. But do I need to quit doing that? Is this really unethical or is it just on their fault for not taking the receipt from me?
I think you're good. I think you're in the clear because I think that companies have shown how much they're willing to pay to data mine you, right? With all the Facebook stuff going on and stuff like that. So like you're actually giving them free labor of something they'd pay good money for. So whatever, you're taking 8 cents worth of syrup from them and a cherry. So
the cherry.
I wouldn't feel bad about it at all.
Well, they will make me. So the other day I went and I was going to get a vanilla Coke. And since that adds a flavor, I had to pay 22 cents for the added flavor. But if I only have to pay 22 cents for my Route 44 each time, it's a pretty good deal.
That's not a bad deal. I say go for it.
I still
take them for what they're worth.
I still usually try to answer. If they give me a new one, I'll try to answer. Let's just say this has been going on for a couple of weeks now. And I haven't gone every day, but I have gone a few times. And if they give me a new one, I will fill out a new receipt. So at least they get some more data on me. And they'll even update it. Like the first time I put that it wasn't that clean because it wasn't. Or it said like it wasn't that clean. Why? And I said because there was Coke all on the side of my drink. And then the next time it asked my cleanliness and I put extremely clean. And they asked why. I was like, my cup was extremely clean this time. So I'm at least giving them some feedback.
What you're giving them is honestly insanely valuable. I mean, that's something that somebody at Human Resources or the company office just can't know without you giving them that information. So I even allowed them.
It asked at the end, it said, do you mind if we share this data on our review stuff or something? I was like, you can share it wherever you want. I don't care where you have it as long as I get my free Route 44s. And now,
next time, tell them you want a cheeseburger and order fries as well.
Yeah, they're not paying you enough.
I mean, you need a raise.
Yeah, actually, Sonic, if LJ said you weren't listening, but if you are listening, I would like, instead of a half-price cheeseburger on Tuesday night, I'd like a free cheeseburger on Tuesday night with my Route 44 drink.
With my free Route 44.
All right, well, I think that solves it. I'm good for 3 free Route 44s a week for the rest of time.
That's what I think.
Eventually, they'll catch on, though. Eventually, I think my car hop will start realizing this same person keeps using a free survey every time.
Yeah, but you know what? In Fort Smith, there's another Sonic just a half a mile down the road, too. So.
Do you tip your car hop any?
That's a good question. I didn't know if I should tip a car hop because they're just bringing me a drink.
You always tip your car hops something.
Even if it's $0, do I give them
$1?
They
less than minimum wage.
Do they? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
What, LJ?
Pay less than minimum wage to do that job. So.
You got to tip your car hops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sometimes don't just because, I feel like, I don't know, I bought 8 cents worth. 8 cents worth of syrup and a cherry. So it feels a little bit like, I don't know. What did you do to earn this dollar that like the person sweeping didn't do?
You're sitting on your dead ass in your car. They're bringing it to you. Give them 50 cents or something, for God's sake.
They're walking, 20 feet? 40 feet at worst?
And you're doing nothing. You're sitting on your dead ass. Give them a tip.
I'd get up and get it if I could.
They don't allow me to go fill my own drink. I'd gladly fill my own vanilla Coke. I'd press the ice.
Because then I'd get the right amount of ice, damn it.
There we go.
Yeah.
Speaking of, while you're sitting in the car, while you're sitting there waiting on your 8 cents of syrup and a cherry, LJ, what would you be listening to this week?
Oh, I've been listening to Conk by the Kooks. Solid album.
Really? I don't even know. I don't think I've ever heard of it.
Oh, I like
It's
the
a good
Kooks,
album.
but I don't know that album.
It's a good album. Like, we'll put it up. It's good.
All right, well, that might
The
be.
Kooks
my
are
jam
like
lately.
Naive, right? Didn't they do Naive?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
the Kooks
Actually,
are good.
Is that on that album? That might be. No,
it?
that's on a different album.
It's an older. That's an older song.
Yeah.
so-
This album, I think that's on the album that came right after Conk.
Okay.
Sunshine. have you
Spell
heard,
Conk.
or Sunshine. Konk.
Okay, conch. Not like a conch fritter. You ever had a conch fritter?
What are you talking about?
Don't know what that is.
Educational
No,
pops.
it's like in Key West. No, it's like in Key West. CHONCH. Conch. A conch fritter.
Oh, like a conch shell.
yeah, like a conch shell, like the Conch Republic. Yeah. I mean,
You ever had you a conch fritter?
conch fritters are pretty good. I mean, they're tasty.
Dad, what are you listening to? What's been in your ears here?
All right. Well, I mean, I'm going to bring
You've
back.
been road tripping, so
I've been road tripping, been listening to a few podcasts, but I got a little bit on one of my favorite albums of all time, Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill.
good.
Oh,
album.
what a good album. So that's what I'm listening to. And listeners, you're in for a treat because it'll be on our website. So just enjoy yourself with a little Alanis Morissette.
Just press play.
Just press play. Be good.
But
Good stuff.
we mentioned it earlier, but when I heard the news that Kanye was going to drop an album with Kid Cudi, I kind of thought, man, I haven't heard any Kid Cudi in a while. So I've been listening to Man on the Moon.
Yeah.
Good album. Kid Cudi's good, man. I
That
really like
mixtape was really
Kid
great
Cudi.
back in the day. Kid Named Cudi.
Yeah, it was. I started looking through and I was like, man, I could just put Kid Cudi on shuffle and just listen to him. But I wanted to pick an album just because I wanted to hear an album front to back, and so I just hit it and pressed play, and it was solid album. I really liked the Man on the Moon album.
Kid Cudi's very good, and he's been going through a lot lately, right? So like him putting out an album might mean that
So
he's
he
kinda getting over some of
recently,
his
I say
personal
recently,
demons.
within the past year, I think, got out of rehab, and it was like I think it was like a rehab type of. He was just real depressed. I think he got
Depressed, I think. Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily like he was addicted. I think he was taking some medication, but it was just he was depressed. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
So
I
I
always
hope
root for
things are
people
good
to get out
because
of the-
his music's so cool, and that's kind of we've talked about it before. But sometimes the way some of the best music gets made while someone's in a not the best state of mind, like in a depressed state of mind. So it stinks to see, but it's all. I mean, it's just kind of weird that something that so many people probably relate to and help them get through a tough time. Maybe it was made while someone else went through a tough time. It's just weird the dynamics of art.
Well,
and music.
that just makes me think of Robin Williams, who he always kind of said that his comedy was him trying to help people find joy that he couldn't have, and
yeah.
yeah.
It's just it's
but
art,
yeah.
and it's just it's cool that, or it's not cool, but it's just a weird dynamic of how art is done by artists. And
it's somewhere sometimes from a dark place, unfortunately. Yeah.
But I think Kid Cudi's been going through hell, and it looks like he didn't stop there. He kept going. So that's how you get out of hell.
Yep.
Is you just keep going.
I hope so. I like me some Kid Cudi. For this week, I think that's going to do it for us. We're going to wrap it up. Glad y'all came on and joined us for this week. I hope you enjoyed the episode. By the way, you can always find us on Twitter at JPP Podcast, or you can find us on Facebook at Just Press Play Podcast, or on our website. We always post our show notes and our full episodes on there, and you can go through and look at anything you missed at justpressplaypod.com. We love to hear feedback from any of the fans. If there's anything that we were wrong on, or anything you want to say, anything you just want to share, we'll try to react to it, and if it's good, we'll bring it up next week on the air. So for me, Kev, Dad, I think that'll call it.
Peace.
Enjoyed it. Peace out.
Yeah, you made a face. I said it right. I said the right Twitter.
I know. That's what I was excited. It sounded like you had written it down or something for the first time in 12 episodes that you've been doing.
Well, I always know it's JVP podcast, but for some reason, every time I'm getting ready to say it, at least prior to this time, since it's not written down, I start like right before I say it, I'm like, wait, is it JVP pod? Is it just Fish Play pod? What is it?